everyone, this is Vivi and Marco is right behind me. Welcome back to my channel, and yes, I am back to van life. My 4th year. I have been taking very slowly transitioning myself back into van life after such a long winter here in Nova Scotia. But in this video, I want to share with you this experience between the seasonal van life and the all-season van life. I would say this video would be helpful for those that kind of want to try out van life but do not want to commit all the way, or those that kind of want to spend half the year with friends and family and half the year to go wander on your own. So the seasonal van life is kind of good way to compromise on that aspect. And in this video, I would like to share with you my experience on the pros and cons. What's it like to do all the seasons van life, and what's it like to do the seasonal van life, and whether it's really worth it to like move back and forth. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, just a quick announcement before we jump into the main topic for today. My book is finally on Lulu. It took me so long to expand my publication beyond Amazon. So for those that have Lulu's account, now you can order my book on Lulu's as well, with 3 formats, of course: ebook, paperback, and also the hardcover. However, the one on Lulu is only black and white, so it's a little bit of different option than the one from Amazon. And I think the paper is actually very nice and quite thick. Same here with the hardcover, also in black and white, and I really like the paper of the quality of the paper on Lulu's is actually really nice. It's really high quality, and this is what look like. The color is slightly different with Amazon, but it's not too much. So yeah, just so you know, now my book is available on Lulu's as well, and I think that they have the global distribution everywhere. So yeah, check it out on Lulu's. So first thing first, with the seasonal van life, the one that bothers me the most is moving, especially that every year before the winter I would have to start looking for a place to stay, especially here in the East Coast, because it's extremely cold and I don't want to deal with driving in the snow either. It's quite dangerous, and I don't think that my van is built to live in or camping during the winter time. It's mainly only for the summer season. So when the temperature goes down to minus 20 degrees, I don't think it's really possible. It doesn't matter how many heaters I have in my van, it's just not really possible to keep it warm enough. And I have 3 different kind of heaters now. One, the Olympic Wave 3, the heater body, and also the furnace that built in my van. When it got down to minus 7, I had to have 2 heaters set up, the Wave 3 and the heat body. 2 of them have to run at the same time, so that a lot of propane consumption, and it cost me about $70 to $80 a week just to keep myself warm, and that's only on propane. So it wasn't really cheap to stay warm inside my van and running the sources on propane. And during the snow, when it snows, I won't be able to drive and get propane, and I have to refill every single week. For that reason, it didn't feel safe enough for me to stay in my van and keep myself warm. And it's running two propane heaters in such a small space sometimes scare me a little bit. So luckily I didn't have to endure that for so long, only a week or two before I could move into the apartment. So for those that live in the East Coast or really cold region, I wouldn't recommend doing the all seasons van life. It seems too extreme unless you have a really well built and insulated van, and that you have winter tires and everything is proper for the winters. Then perhaps you can try it out. But for such an old van like mine, I wouldn't recommend it at all. It's quite dangerous and it's not healthy. It's also very expensive. It's not that much cheaper than rent. So I would rather to be safe and stay in an apartment and also have a little more space for Marco as well. So that's the number one thing about the pros and the cons of the seasonal van life. The cons is that I would have to look for a place and it's not really easy. Here in Halifax, this was a little bit more difficult for me than when it was in Montreal last year. For some reason, the rental market in Nova Scotia is really high and is highly demanding. So I was lucky to find a place within 3 weeks. But for most people, they would have to start looking for more than a month, probably 2 months, in order to find a decent place. For me, I try to keep my criteria down and just keep it really simple. And I was lucky to find one within 3 weeks that I got to Nova Scotia. So I used my manifestation a little bit. However, when I was in Montreal, I just kind of stumbled upon someone during my road trip that was looking for a roommate. So that was kind of meant to be. I did not even have to look anywhere in Montreal, and I just got to Montreal and it got ready for me. So when I was in Montreal, I also have to find a place to park my van because I was staying in an area that was very close to downtown, and parking on the street permanently during the whole winter season wasn't really option because they have to clean the street, and that I would have to move my van, and when it snows a lot I won't be able to drive the van at all. So I needed to find a place to park my van permanently for the winter season. And in Montreal, a lot of people store their vehicle indoor and outdoors, so looking for a storage place wasn't really easy, and it could be quite expensive, especially for indoor places. And a lot of places are not big enough for my van, so I would have to go a little bit further out of town in order to find a parking space. So the commute wasn't easy for me to go back and forth, like park my van there and go back to the apartment. And when the spring comes, then I would have to go over there and get my van back. On top of that, in Montreal, I had to cover my van during the winter time because I expected that it was going to snow a lot. So I wasn't going to drive the van, so I would need to cover it just so when the snow melts it wouldn't leak into my van and cause mold issue. And it did a little bit, but hadn't I covered, it would have caused such a disaster because it was snowing a lot that year. But here in Nova Scotia, I didn't do that. I didn't cover my vein this winter because the temperature here is really fluctuating. It goes up and down, so it was snowing a lot and then it melts very quickly the next several days. So I was able to drive and get grocery. In Montreal, I was able to walk to the grocery store because the location was so central. There are just so many shops and groceries around the apartment. But here in Nova Scotia, the grocery store is like 10 minutes drive away. So and the bus wasn't very reliable, and I didn't want to take the bus to the grocery store. So luckily the snow melts and I was able to go get groceries every other week or every week, luckily. Now the moving with the seasonal van life is not really fun, just to have like move everything out of the van every several months. However, this could be up or down. It could be positive or negative, depends on how you look at it. The way that I see it is that because when I move everything out of my van, it was easier for me to do a thorough cleaning in my van. When I live all seasons van life in Vancouver, I didn't do the cleaning as much, so things get broken easily. I didn't feel like the van was properly clean. Even I did actually do like deep cleaning every 3 months or so when I was in Vancouver, but still, because I have a lot of stuff inside, I wasn't able to get like to on the nook and crack of my van to do like a really thorough clean. Beside that, I wasn't motivated to do any fixing in my van because I was still staying in there and I was kind of comfortable with everything that the way that it is, and I didn't want to do much of the improvement. But with the moving, whenever I go back to my van, I kind of want to have a fresh start, so I would change up things a little bit and improve some things that do not work in my van. So it makes my life a little bit easier when I move back and transition back to my van. For instance, this area right here under my bed, I put a lot of storage because it's a big space for storage, and when I drive, everything slide out. But this time I just came up with a solution to put 4 different screws in 4 corners and just tie up the rope like zigzag like that. And so if I have to go downhill or make a turn, then it doesn't slide everything out. It's such a quick solution, and it is so simple, and I couldn't believe that I didn't think about it 3 years ago until now. Oh, but yeah, I'm glad to have that solutions and have more space in the van here, like the hallway here, and it's easier for me to walk around. So I also reorganized a lot of things in my van, so this time when I moved back to the van, it didn't feel as cluttered, and I feel like, oh yes, I have more space now. And before I moved into the apartment, everything was cluttered everywhere, and it was quite messy, and I feel like I didn't have room, I didn't have space. So moving back and forth kind of helped me to see what I needed to let go and reorganize my van. That way I have more room and it looks tidy and neat in here, and it doesn't get cluttered or get cramped in here, and I feel like I don't have space for getting new stuff. The batteries issues. When I was in Montreal, I had to check 2 of my batteries. Well, actually back then I had only one in-house battery and one engine battery, because when I parked my van permanently without driving at all for several months, the cold would drain my batteries. So I had to take the batteries with me and leave them in the apartment, and I charged them all the way full when I moved back into my van. So that was the situation for me last year in Montreal. But this year, I only took my the 2 in-house battery, and I left the engine battery intact just so I could drive every week or every other week to get grocery. And that was it. I didn't drive anywhere else. Well, I needed food. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to survive in my apartment without food. So for the house battery, because I didn't stay in my van, I didn't need lighting, I didn't need anything, and to keep it safe, I had to move them to my apartment. They were super heavy, so I needed someone to help me with that. But it's because I have only 2 house batteries, so it was very simple. The connection was very simple, and I just checked the photos when everything was connected, and just follow the picture, the way all the wires that connected, and just follow that when I installed the batteries back into the van when I moved back. That way I was able to help the battery to last longer and to keep them healthy. When I was in Vancouver and I had to stay inside the van during the winter time, my battery destroyed completely after 1 year, because on several days in the winter, even though Vancouver is very warm, and it doesn't normally go down to like negative degrees, but there's several days, sometimes even a week, that it does go down to -0. I think 1 year it went down to -7. And it was like -5, -7, -4 for several days, and I had to run my furnace, my Olympic Wave 3 constantly, and I couldn't drive because it was snowing so much. So I had to run it all days for several days, and my battery completely died, and I had to replace a new one, which cost me like $400 something for the new batteries. So I learned my lesson, and I didn't I didn't leave my batteries inside the van for the winter time. So that's something that you need to pay attention to. If you are going to do the seasonal van life, you need to keep the batteries alive. And charge it. Make sure you charge it before putting them back into the van. And I think I learned it from the battery guy that I bought the batteries from, and he said that charging it occasionally, once after several months, would help to keep it last longer. So that's the battery situation with the seasonal and the all-season van life. Now for Marco, I wanted to stay in the apartment during the winter time, partially also because of Marco. Now if your dog breed is the type that love the winter and love the snow, then probably staying outside is not a problem for them being in the cold. With Marco, it's a little bit difficult. He doesn't like to walk when it's so cold outside. When it gets to -20 degrees, he just go out, pee and poop, and then go back in. He doesn't like walking at all. That's the reason why I have to dress him very warmly during the winter. Regardless, he really hates wearing shoes. So if we have to stay inside for a whole day and he wasn't able to have room to run around, it's a little bit too much for Marco, and it's too cramped for both of us to stay inside all day long in the van. So having more space for Marco by staying in an apartment, it allows him to run around inside, and I can also play with him as well. Here in the van, I cannot play with him because he doesn't have room to run around. So he was very happy to be inside, and he also feels safe because here in Nova Scotia it's extremely windy whenever it rains or snow, and when it's so windy that it shocked the van, it got Marco really anxious and he doesn't feel safe at all. So again, being in the apartment helped both of us feel a lot safer, especially for Marco. And he was the big reason that I decided, yeah, I'm not gonna take a chance, and I would rather to stay warm and safe inside a house than being in my van. Okay, so my conclusion for this, between the seasonal van life and all-season van life, which one do I prefer? I think that if I go back to BC, I would still consider doing the seasonal van life, even though the weather there would be warmer, for the reason that because during the winter time I feel slower, my mood also lower, and I feel my body is heavier. I feel like I wanted to stay inside during the winter for the last several years and not doing a lot of activities, not doing any exploring, not going out there and try to do too much, like too many activities. It helps me to be more in tune with nature by going inward and hibernate, because that's what animals do during the winter time. Even the trees also die and slow down, no flowers, nothing really blooming. So by being more in the flow with the universe helped me to navigate my energy a bit easier, and I could observe my energy, and that way I can figure a plan to focus on my self-care. And I do just focus on self-care during the winter time. Is so critical because I feel so tired all the time, so I needed to figure out a way to pick myself up, and I didn't want to have to worry about all the little maintenance and all the chores that I have to do when I live in my van all the time. I just focus on my energy, healing, and all my rituals that actually kind of require me to stay in a fixed place in order to do, and I wouldn't be able to do those rituals at all if in my van. So yeah, staying inside in an apartment in a fixed place kind of give me that opportunities to focus on myself, focus on my health, and establish a good routines, and get to do longer meditation. Also, I get to observe my energy and understand myself better. Also, I was able to address my goals and what I want to do this year, what I want to accomplish. So it's having that downside, having that downtime is just so essential for me in the winter time. And I stay a little bit too comfortable in the apartment in Nova Scotia, so it was a little hard for me to transitioning back to van life because I wasn't able to do exercise every day and have to figure out a way to get shower and get water and all that. So, and the place that I stay at in Sydney is just so peaceful. It was too comfortable to me to the point I feel like I didn't miss my van life so much. But now that I'm moving back and I'm like, I get to see all the beautiful places, and I'm like, yes, I do actually miss van life, and I'm very happy to be back. So yeah, that is my insight about the two different lifestyles of van life. And for those that consider this lifestyle and you want to try it out, you don't want to commit on the way, yeah, I think that there's solution in there, the compromise for it. And to me, I think the seasonal may be slightly better the all season one, unless if you have, like I said, a fully insulated and proper install van, and with all the winter tires and brand new engines and 4x4, and you can drive in the snow, then yeah, maybe it's possible to stay in the van all year round. You don't feel unsafe. But for all the reasons that I just said here, I still think that the seasonal van life is a good solution, and for those that feel intimidated with van life can still actually try it out and enjoy it and still go back with your family and friends and have a nice place to stay. So that's all I have for you today. I hope that this is helpful. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe and like and comment and tell me what you think, whether you would prefer the seasonal van life or the all season van life. Okay, I see you next time. Bye guys. Hey, one more thing before you go. don't forget to visit my website livingthroughalchemy.com to check out my book and download the first chapter for free. And if you have read the book already, don't forget to leave me the review on Amazon for good karma, and I would also love you for it. Thanks guys, bye.